You're listening to the Short Series Podcast, episode 72. Today's podcast is brought to you by Audible.com. Get a free audiobook download and 30-day free trial. That's free at audibletrial.com/short-series. With over 150,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or MP3 player. That's 150,000. That's a lot.
Yes, it is.
Today's podcast is also brought to you by Patreon. To figure out how you can help infuse our podcast with your awesomeness. It's a lot of awesomeness. Then visit patreon.com.
Well, wait, ours or theirs?
Both.
Okay.
/PSM. Again, that's patreon.com/PSM. Hello and welcome back to the Shorts and Series Podcast, the podcast where we endeavor to prove that online video is a force to be reckoned with. I'm Devin.
And I'm Nick. And I forgot to press record earlier.
Yes, this is our
two.
This is our second take. We went, I think, like 5 or 6 minutes.
Yeah.
Just talking, and then Nick looks down and is like, we never hit record on the microphones, so none of this was recorded.
Yep.
Which is a shame, because it was literally the best podcast we've ever done, and now no one will ever know.
Exactly.
So, thank you very much, Nick, for failing.
All of the audio
miserably.
was recorded on the live stream.
Yeah.
Quality degraded, but still.
So there is
It's
proof
there.
that it was the best podcast ever
Okay.
in the history of the world.
Anyway, today we're talking about PoPS.
Yes, we're back for more PoPS. Platoon of Power Squadron is what it stands for.
Yes. We've been watching episode 2,
Yes, parts 4 and 5.
the final parts.
So we're wrapping up episode 2 today.
We are.
We are discussing the dramatic cliffhanger that is going to lead us into episode 3. So let's get to it.
Okay.
Start off with our thoughts on the plot, and you have a note in here about electrocution.
Yes. I love the start where we fantasize about electrocuting patronizing customers.
Yes, because let's face it, we've all fantasized about, in some way, verbally or physically abusing annoying customers.
Absolutely.
Admit it. Admit it. You've done
Yeah,
it. You know you have.
Even if you don't want to admit it, it's true.
Yes. And this is why I love the writing of PoPS, because it's super relatable. You know, we're not thrown into the mix where it's just like superheroes with superpowers. Yay,
Right.
let's focus on the superpowers and how awesome they are. It's like, no. We're going to start off with just their everyday lives. You know, talk about the little personal details of their personal lives. And, you know, mention superpowers here and there, but it's about them as people first. That way we can relate to them.
Right.
And I like how, you know, the whole start of the series, they picked perhaps the 2 most relatable things to focus on. That being horrible customer service jobs.
Yep.
Because unless you're really well off, I feel like you have to start in customer service to get anywhere else.
Pretty much. It's the first available source of money.
Yeah, because they're people hate, so they're always leaving. So there's always more slots for people to then come in and work there.
Yeah.
So that's customer service. No fun. Sucks. I can attest to that. I'm sure
Yep.
you could too.
I can too. And so can almost literally anybody else.
Yes. And then the other prong of relatability that we're introduced to is awkward dates.
That's true.
Granted, there's interference that made it awkward, but still, awkward dates nonetheless. Most of us could relate to. Me in particular.
Yes, I believe that. But
Oh, thanks, Nick.
I feel like the date was awkward before there was even any mental messing around.
Yeah, a little, primarily because the whole stalking thing.
Yeah, it was. Yeah,
And not
just
like
the whole thing has been awkward from the start.
And I don't mean stalking like a stalking that he knit, because he's really into knitting, but like
That was bad, Devin.
it worked.
That
It
was
worked because
bad.
Virginia's into knitting and crocheting, and one of
Sure.
the things that you can crochet or knit is a stocking. So it was a joke. It was
a bad joke.
It was a
though.
play on words. It was a
But
pun, and it was funny, Nick.
Okay,
It was funny. Damn it.
sure. I feel like though you glossed over a pretty important detail, which was that after he fantasized about electrocuting a customer, Donald punched the taco guy.
Yeah.
And then took his hat off and walked off into the alleyway and into the sunset.
Yeah, and I like that. because
It was a great shot.
first off, it was great, and also it just satisfies. I'm living vicariously through Donald at this point. Like,
yeah.
I want to quit my job, but I know if I do, I can't afford anything. So, like, I'm living vicariously through him. It's like, I want to quit. I want to punch a customer and leave, but I can't for a few reasons. One of them being I need the money. Second, that might incur a lawsuit. So, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I feel like it would. But
not a good idea.
the glossing over was really, I think that he quit
Yes.
at that moment.
Well, it's fairly obvious that he
Yeah.
quit. He quit
And-
his job in search of greater things in life,
Yes.
but mostly out of frustration of having to deal with customers and being degraded on a normal basis, which is customer service.
So he's not really in a great spot.
No.
No.
Yet.
Okay. So then the date. Jonas is mind controlling her date.
Yeah, which I love how we're introduced to that
Mm-hmm.
because we don't know that at first.
No.
And it's just really bizarre because they're sitting at the date and this, he seems like a nice guy, he's just going to be
Kind of weird, but nice.
Yeah, odd but gentlemanly. And he's like being very gentlemanly, and then out of nowhere starts talking about like, yeah, this one girl was a total tease and blah
Yep.
blah blah. It's like, what? What?
It turns into
Huh?
a frat boy immediately.
Yeah.
Just out of nowhere.
No smooth transition. And then all of a sudden he's like, yeah, I'll have a water. It's like, what is going on? Is this guy legitimately just insane? Like his brain is short circuiting?
Right.
I don't understand. And then we find out, yes, his brain is short circuiting, but not
Not
because
a
he's
fault of his own.
no.
It's all Jonas, just
Yes.
mind control.
And he's a tad jealous.
Yeah, definitely so. I feel like this really sucks for Virginia, mostly.
Yeah, she loses on both ends.
Pretty much.
But it's great to watch.
Yeah.
I like the little
Watching
montage.
relationships self-destruct is pretty amusing most of the time.
Yes. Is that why you're friends with me? You have a front row seat to all of my romantic endeavors exploding around me?
Yes.
Okay. Thank
Okay.
you.
No. That was a joke though. That's only like half the reason.
Okay. But yeah. So we see Jonas interfering there, and I like the little montage we get of all like the ridiculous dialogue.
Yeah, I feel like they came up with the funniest things they could write, filmed way too much, and then cut it down to the funniest ones.
Yeah, we just have all the swish pans to like the
Yeah.
ridiculous dialogue, and then his nose starts bleeding.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure that's before that Virginia had figured it out, but that just confirmed it. She was
Yeah.
like, "Okay, thanks, Jonas."
99.9% certain that she knows it's Jonas.
Yeah.
And if I round up, that's 100%. So I'm 100% sure she knows that it's Jonas. Up to no good.
In the neighborhood.
Causing trouble in the neighborhood.
Okay. But that's the one transition, and then so the date's like basically a transition, and then Donald has already gone to just drinking champagne as like a homeless person.
Yeah, like he's in an alleyway with just a bottle of champagne, just
Yeah.
like downing it.
That's not really the alcohol of choice.
No.
For anything but celebrations, I think.
It's like the exact opposite. It's like,
Exactly.
I'm down in the dumps. I'm going to take this celebratory alcoholic beverage and drown myself in it.
Yeah.
It didn't
And
make sense. Also, he's taking his whole quitting his job rather
Dramatically?
Yeah.
Yeah. Just a bit.
like, I'm going to quit my job, and instead of going home and like venting about it and then looking up Craigslist ads for more jobs, I'm going to become an alcoholic in an alleyway.
Yeah, exactly. I also like how he's drinking fizzy champagne, so he takes a swig and then takes the bottle down, and more comes out than he could have possibly drank.
Yes. It's funny.
Yeah.
And you might ask, why champagne? That seems an odd choice. Well, there might be an importance as to why he was drinking champagne in particular, and we may find that out in future episodes.
All right, Devin with the not-so-subtle foreshadowing.
Yes. Stay tuned. Because there
Okay.
may or may not be significance around that particular
right.
beverage of choice.
Anyway,
Am I being obvious enough?
you are.
Okay, good. I was trying.
He's getting drunk on champagne and notices a purse snatching occurring in the alleyway next to him.
Yes.
And it is now his moment to become a hero. Because clearly that's how all heroes start, is stopping a purse snatching.
Yeah. Has a rather high occurrence rate in origin stories.
Yeah.
It's very bizarre.
It's mostly because there's not a lot of threat. Like, most purse snatchers are not super violent. They're mostly just trying to grab the purse and run.
Yeah.
So it's not, like, super threatening. So it's like a good level 1 character type thing to do.
Yeah. And so he's basically gone from quitting the job that he hates to having the potential to do the job that he loves.
Exactly. Although it's hard to call it a job.
Crime fighting. It's a job.
It's not,
for superheroes.
you don't get
it's a
paid
job.
for it though, which is the most important part of most jobs. It's the money at the end.
Maybe if you beat the criminals bad enough and steal their money from them.
Well, wouldn't that just make you a super criminal?
Would it though? Then you get into like a moral gray zone because you're stopping.
Suddenly we're reading Death Note.
I was not thinking Death Note, but it works.
Oh, it's the same moral argument that's happening.
True, I was thinking more like Dexter.
Oh, that's basically American Death Note.
Never read or seen either, so
oh really?
Can't really say much to that effect. But so Donald now has an opportunity to take on bad guys. Finally, it's his initial foray into professional crime fighting, and it goes horribly wrong.
Yeah, but it's more importantly continue tomorrow.
Yes.
So that's the end of the episode. It's right before that,
and we will continue this podcast tomorrow.
No, that's not true.
And we will continue a review then.
It was a good cliffhanger.
Yeah, because he goes to get his electricity going, and it doesn't work.
Nope.
Why doesn't it work?
I don't know. Could it have something to do with the champagne?
I don't know, Nick. Could it?
I don't know. So in the next episode, he basically starts off just getting beat up because he has no electric powers, and he was expecting to have those.
As I would assume to have them as well if I were in his shoes. I'd be like, I've had this my whole life. Why is it not working now?
It would also be like, if you're expecting to go into a fight with an advantage, and then right before the fight, the advantages disappear. That would suck.
It ups the stakes and makes for more dramatic tension when viewing, which is, more entertainment for us.
And so it's a pretty long fight scene. Pretty much this whole episode is just the fight scene.
Yeah, with a little addendum at the end.
Yeah.
And he fights.
Yeah. Pretty amazingly well for someone who presumably hasn't fought at all.
Ever.
And then halfway through, he kind of gets his electric powers a little bit, and then they go back away, and then he uses them in full effect at the end of the fight.
Yes, so much so that he inadvertently kills someone.
Yeah, stops his heart, which is not good.
No.
But then also is able to use his powers to restart his heart. So he's like a portable
AED.
Yeah.
Defibrillator.
Yeah, defibrillator is what I was trying to say.
Yes. So there you go. He has the power to kill and to revive.
It's true, but only from stopped hearts.
Yeah.
So
nothing else.
I mean, he can't solve gunshot wounds.
No.
No.
But there you go. Fight scene. Donald wins.
And he ends it with the classic superhero phrase, "Don't do crime."
Yes, as you
don't do it.
As you hear in numerous superhero movies of extremely grand caliber, Superman, Batman, all of them have at some point uttered the incredibly memorable superhero catchphrase, "Don't do crime."
Yep.
So, welcome to the ranks, Donald.
Yeah.
So it was a pretty cool fight scene. We get to know more about Donald's motivations and see his first foray, and he survives. So it gives us more hope that he could potentially do this more often.
He does survive. That's very important. It kind of would have been a terrible series if he had died right here.
Yeah, kind of.
But it does it leads us to, okay, this is going to be somewhat of an action series, and it's going to be pretty good.
Yes, and it leads us to question, well, Donald and Jonas have been talking about superpowers, and maybe Donald's right, and this is their destiny. As we then see on the Scrabble board.
Yeah.
Nice transition there. I like that.
It is a good transition, and it also definitely foreshadows completely that they're going to be fighting crime.
And it was like a non-hokey way to put that in there, because they're playing Scrabble.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, cool. Yay, triple points. I win. But it's like also, ooh, destiny.
Yeah.
This is their destiny.
Do you think they set up the entire Scrabble board to get to that destiny, or did they write the destiny and then kind of put one word here and then just letters over here?
That is something I never would have actually thought about.
Okay.
So I have no idea.
All right. I'm just somewhat curious, not really.
Set design. How should we arrange this Scrabble board? Shall we make it? Shall we play a game and try to play the word destiny in there, or shall we put destiny down and then build the other words around it,
Yeah.
like true destiny?
Or
is?
do you put destiny down and then play a game trying to get to it?
Ooh, I like that option.
Because then it's the most realistic, but still you guarantee to get to destiny.
Ooh, that is
I
deep.
don't-
That is deep,
it
my
though?
friend. Yes.
I don't think so. And as they're playing Scrabble, Donald comes in, or first Virginia comes in to talk about the date.
Yes, very shut off.
Yes, it was the best date ever, and yes, they're going to get married.
Yeah.
So
So that's good news.
informative.
Yes.
For sure. And then Donald comes in and says, "Yeah, I fought crime. I killed a guy,"
Yeah.
and then leaves.
Just walks off. Oh, but I'm back. Don't worry, it's all good.
Yeah.
And when he says, "I brought him back," that reminds Jonas of something.
Mick Trick
Yes, who is still face down unconscious.
from 2 parts ago.
Yeah. So the way it was written, it sounds like he was only out for the day.
Yeah, at least like 4 hours
Yeah,
minimum.
but probably more.
Yeah.
Because I'm assuming he probably visited the comic book store somewhat early in the morning.
Yeah.
You know, probably, if I had to guess, like 10, 11-ish. And then was out till past dark.
Yeah.
So, late.
Yeah, I suppose.
The sun goes down when it's
So
late, Nick.
possibly 12 hours.
Yes. So, basically, it's just good for us as an audience to know, oh, yeah, this douchebag has been unconscious in his own apartment for hours, and his wife doesn't even care to check on him.
Yo, do you think that messed up his sleeping cycle? Like, then he couldn't go to sleep?
Do you think that gave him brain damage?
Well, I don't know, because it was just unconsciousness. I don't think that gives you brain damage unless it's like injury.
Jonas did say, with your brain turned off.
Right.
So his brain was turned off.
Don't know exactly what that means. He's still alive, so clearly not all functionality was turned off.
True. So you think you just put him to sleep?
I think it was mostly just like forced state of unconsciousness,
Okay.
which doctors do with like chemicals all the time
Right.
for surgeries, and that, they're fine.
So he's fine.
Probably.
But, he still got what he deserved.
Yeah, that's true.
So, and we see that his life isn't as optimum as he would have led us to believe.
Optimum.
I was trying to say optimal, and for whatever reason, my brain wasn't picking out that word. So I just, I went with the flow and I said optimum. So there you go.
Alright.
His life is not as optimum as he would lead us to believe it is.
I
'cause
suppose so.
he doesn't have the best relationship with his wife. She doesn't really care about him.
No, well, presumably he acts the same way he does to everyone else to her,
True.
and that
Probably not a good way to bring warmth into the relationship.
yeah, definitely not.
But that being said, it's a nice little transition into our thoughts on the characters and actors.
Okay,
Jonas.
is amazing.
I liked Jonas in this episode. I liked his quick thinking, which kind of worked but kind of didn't. Because he's in the restaurant
Mm-hmm.
puppeteering do we know his name? I don't think we know his name.
No,
The guy that
I had a name for him last 2 weeks ago. What did I call him?
I called him Painful Beard Shawl Guy.
Yeah, you did, and I called him Benjamin Linus. That's what I called him.
No,
Yes,
that
it
was the
was.
other customer in the bookstore.
Oh, you're right.
So anyways, this guy that Virginia's going on a date with, Jonas is puppeteering him. And when the waitress is like getting his order, she's like, "Were your eyes just glowing?" Yeah,
New contacts.
new contacts. They're Japanese.
Like you read menus in the dark.
It helps me read menus in the dark.
Yep.
They light up. So, which first off sounds cool. I want these flashlight contacts.
I feel like it would be counter effective. I don't know, because if you're projecting the light literally from your eyes, but your eyes are meant to absorb light, it seems
That could be counterintuitive. But like if the contacts themselves emitted light and you had like a mirror backing on the back of the contact so that the light didn't go back into your eyeball, and so then it emitted the light like a flashlight, and you could read the menu that way.
I still feel like it's a delicate optical system, your eyeball, and if you add a light emitting source literally to it, it might be bad.
It might be.
Because I think the iris is meant to like kind of help bounce light into your eyeball, and if the light's coming out of that instead,
Yeah.
I don't know though.
Regardless,
I'm not an eye scientist.
they don't actually exist.
That's true.
Jonas was lying to say they existed, but it was almost a believable lie. Like if you heard somebody say that, you'd be like, the Japanese probably would have something like that.
Yeah, I suppose so. But then he was being very strange about it. So
Yeah, but I like seeing his quick thinking because it kind of worked in a weird way, but not really.
Yeah.
So
I bet the waitress was just thinking, I really hope this guy actually tips me.
yeah, probably.
But I doubt he even ordered anything because he just got water.
That's true.
So he probably just sat there with a cup of water and then left.
And that goes to my second Jonas point. Jonas is kind of a scumbag. Like,
Yeah.
he's a lovable scumbag, but he's still kind of a scumbag, especially in the early parts of the series.
Yeah, absolutely. But he's my kind of scumbag, and I love it. So,
Yes.
like, I'm a scumbag in the same ways.
Yes. Because, he's more concerned about making sure Virginia's date doesn't go well than actually, like, making sure this waitress is, like, getting paid. And he's wasting her time and Virginia's time and screwing with two guys' lives because he doesn't like them.
Yeah.
Just so things could go his way.
Kind of a god complex, really.
Yeah, he's kind of a scumbag, but he's a funny scumbag, so we like him.
Yeah.
So that's a clue to all of you out there listening. If you happen to be a scumbag,
Just be funny.
just be funny,
Yeah.
and then it makes it okay.
It's endearing.
Relationship advice 101.
Don't. If Devyn's teaching the class, don't pay attention.
Hey now.
Hey, now.
It's probably true. Anyway, so moving on. The acting in the alleyway with the fight. Not a very, and I know it's difficult to do because we talked about this on several of our reviews, particularly for, was the Ryan Connolly one we just did? I know what it is. I just forgot the name. Proximity. We reviewed Proximity.
Yes.
Any kind of physical acting requires incredible amount of physical effort on the actor's behalf to look convincing.
Yes.
And so the initial scuffle in the alleyway where it's the girl with the purse and the two guys, and they're just kind of like doing this.
Yeah.
It's like not the most convincing struggle ever.
No, and then
But at the same
they
time,
all stop, and she's not fighting back. She's just like letting her hands be held by the other guy.
yeah.
It's just a kind of a strange situation.
And to be fair, like it all comes down to the actors. Like you don't want to make them hurt themselves or like.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Like you don't want them to be uncomfortable with how physical they have to get.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like it doesn't look as convincing. But
I think maybe because everything in this type of a situation seems to happen really fast. So maybe if they had done it faster, where the exchange had happened faster and both guys had broken away and she had ran away, like all in the space of a couple seconds, it would have been more convincing.
right, and then the fight itself, we'll get more to that in the creative elements.
Yes.
But I had minor issues with that as well.
Well, yeah.
But also just the acting in general with the thugs, we didn't really get too much actual dialogue, so it wasn't really that bad. Does that make sense?
I suppose.
Like
yeah.
it was just they were there to fight.
Yeah, but they still seemed very strange.
Yeah,
And like I don't know, weirdly not thuggish. And the way they handle
probably because in real life they're not thugs.
I guess so, but like he pulled out his knife and then opened it with two hands, where I feel like an actual thug would like kind of flick it open.
Out.
Yeah. And the same exact thing with a straight razor.
Which I love that he had a straight razor. It's like, I'm going to take you out with a straight razor.
Yeah.
So I'm going to shave your beard off.
Ooh.
That would have been the real threat.
Yeah, absolutely. For
Little known fact, that is the
source of the electricity.
That's the source of Donald's
all
powers.
static.
It's just in the beard. But yeah, so I think, and you said they seemed oddly unthuggish.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like he got the buffest guy he knew. It's like, hey, play a thug.
And then the buffest guy's best friend too.
Yeah. Because that guy was pretty ripped. He was pretty huge.
Yeah, he was also very tall.
Which helped.
Yes, and I think also Craig is fairly short. I don't know. How tall is he?
I don't know. We've seen him in real life at
I
VidCon.
know, but he was on a stage surrounded by other people we've only seen in videos, so.
That's true. I like how that sentence just perfectly describes like an internet personality. Like, we don't even know how tall they are because the one time we did see them in person, they were on a stage surrounded by other people.
Yes.
We've only seen in videos, so we have no gauge of reference to figure out how tall Craig is.
Exactly. But we did see Rhett and Link. We walked right next to them. They are both very tall.
Oh, yes. And actually, I have seen Craig in real life, not on a stage.
But he was sat down, right?
Nope. He was standing up.
Oh, I thought you saw him on the panel.
No, I saw him back in 2011.
Oh.
Driftwell's Pony Club was doing a tour, and they were doing this thing where they would basically just make videos saying, hey, we're going to be stopping at this place, and we're planning on doing an acoustic set, so bring instruments for us to play, and we'll play for you guys. And they did that at some park in Denver. And I'm like, hey, Dad, Wheezy Waiter's coming. Can you drive me? Because this was in ye old days. And so we went down, and I saw Craig. And he's about, I think he was slightly shorter than me. Or maybe roughly my height.
So he's about average. So this guy was pretty tall then.
Yes. So that was a really long tangent to figure out the height of Wheezy Waiter.
Definitely a
Based off the
necessary
one
thing.
time I saw him for 20 seconds in a park 2 years ago. 3 years ago at this point.
So wait, he was about as tall as you were 3 years ago?
Yes. I haven't grown much in the past
Okay.
3 years.
Well, okay.
Yeah, so there you go. That's our super long roundabout tangent. But speaking of Donald's character,
Yes.
I love how not cocky, but overly confident he gets once he wins the fight. When he gets back to the apartment, he's like, yeah, crime fighting, did it, took out a bad guy, I'm awesome, I killed him, but don't worry, I brought him back.
Good night.
Good night. Like,
Yeah.
he's just super pumped, and not in a cocky way.
Yeah, he's just very, very excited about fighting crime.
And it makes me, it exposes one of his character flaws, which is he's very naive.
Yeah.
If
I don't know if this was the moment that we realized that, but
I think it's a moment where you start to see that. Because
I
I'm
guess-
awesome. It's like you took on a purse snatcher. Like, there are way worse baddies in the world, and you're
That's-
excited because you took out a purse snatcher.
that's true.
So he's a little naive, but in an endearing way.
Yeah, definitely.
And I love his overconfidence because, honestly, if it weren't for his overconfidence,
Nothing would happen.
exactly.
Yeah.
Like, none of the other people would be motivated to do anything with their powers either.
Exactly.
It's his overconfidence that kind of, he's almost like the motivator of the group when it comes to actively using superpowers.
Motivates by getting them into bad situations they have to use their powers to get out of.
Yes.
But
all,
sure.
all with good intent, though.
Yes.
Yeah. So I like Donald. He's the catalyst for most of the events
Yeah, pretty
in
much.
the series. So Donald, I like him. He's
Okay.
my kind of guy.
And then we know that Virginia's pissed, but we don't really see the outcome of that. So that there's not a ton other than the date happened and it was bad.
Right. And I don't think we got any Sebastian this episode.
She resigned herself to being called a quitter for life for giving up on the Scrabble game.
Yeah, but that's about it.
But that was it. Yeah.
Like, I think that was the only scene
was-
she was
it
was
was,
in.
yeah.
So no Sebastian. Kind of
That's all right.
makes me sad.
And
I wanted
she was
to see
in the earlier parts. So.
She was quite a bit, actually.
Yeah.
So it was like a balancing of getting all the character stories out there. So yeah,
Yeah.
there we go. That's about all I have on thoughts on the characters.
Yes, there's a lot of plot this episode.
Yes, which I like.
Or these parts. Gosh, so the terminology is messing with my head.
Yes, Nick, let me educate you. An episode is the season,
Yes, I know.
and a part is an episode.
I realize this.
I think the real issue is the episode word.
Yes,
So
because by definition it shouldn't be broken into parts, because it's the episode is the one thing.
yes, Nick, but you could also argue Star Wars episode. They're all called episodes, but they're all movies.
Yeah, but they're still the one part. That's like what the episode means. Is the
Yeah,
one
but you could
part.
also on the DVD break it down into chapters, and those are technically episodes of the episode.
Except they're not, because they're not a self-contained part.
But they are.
Okay.
So
Moving
logic.
on to the
I win.
creative elements.
I win the argument.
Devin, you misspelled the word ever.
Did
in
I?
all caps.
Oh, well, that was on purpose. Yeah, so we're moving on to our thoughts on the creative elements.
Yeah.
They probably didn't hear that because I was triumphing my victory over you.
Okay.
So we are now on the creative elements. And the first point I wrote down was best lighting effects ever.
Yep.
And it's EVAR.
all
and
caps.
All caps.
Why is there no exclamation point?
Okay, I could change that if you want. Ready? And boop, boop, boop. Exclamation points.
3 of them.
3 of them. Best lightning effects ever. And sarcasm there, in case you didn't pick up on that.
Is this supposed to be lighting or lightning?
Lightning.
Oh.
Oh, it auto-corrected.
Okay. 'Cause-
Anyways, I wrote down, Nick, this is all falling apart around us.
Yeah.
I wrote down,
Us.
I meant to write down best lightning effects ever.
Okay.
And it was supposed to be sarcastic
Right.
because when he has the fantasy, I wrote that down when he's having the fantasy of shocking the customer. Not the best. And we've talked about
No.
this.
Yeah, the lightning is not the best now.
But it becomes, in my opinion, later in the series, it becomes the best effect.
Yes. So they get much better at making lightning. This is, I believe, just the regular iMovie lightning stuff, right?
No, we talked with Jake Jarvie about it. I think he said he used a program that like nobody ever used,
Oh yeah.
or it's not even like in use anymore. It was some like weird, outlandish editing system that is pretty unheard of.
Okay.
I think it was Sony something.
Yeah.
I don't remember exactly what it was.
Either way, it looks very similar to the very generic iMovie Lightning.
Better than the iMovie Lightning, though.
Yes.
The iMovie Lightning is really bad.
Yes, but it's still not really that good.
No.
Um,
So it's better than iMovie Lightning, which
also,
is good.
The customer being shocked on the ground, I feel like that's not exactly what you look like when you get electrocuted. Like I don't know, but
Have you been electrocuted?
I have not.
Have you
well, I
seen
mean, I've shocked
anybody-
myself with an outlet, but that's not really.
Have you seen anybody in real life being electrocuted?
No,
Then you don't know.
I guess not.
So
but
you
it
can't
just
judge.
it seemed over the top
Yeah.
with like the floppy wrist mostly. It was pretty ridiculous.
Well.
It was fun to watch though, because you kind of wish customers would actually react like that.
Yes.
So.
Yeah. And then I like the following up shot of that when he quits
Mm-hmm.
because I love the music that they chose to use. It's like the dramatic Gregorian chants choir music as he like sets down the. He doesn't even set. You have the
you
bear
just
head
see the bear head and the one glove, and then he pulls off the other glove and throws it as he walks dramatically away.
to that music.
Yeah.
And it's like, this is epic. He just quit a customer service job, so it's really not the most,
No.
grandiose thing in the world, but it seems epic.
Yeah.
Which it kind of was, because it was the catalyst that drove him to a life of crime fighting. So I just like the juxtaposition of the severity of what happened and the severity of how it seems to happen. It's almost as if we're viewing through Donald's mind how severe he's seeing the issue.
Yeah, definitely.
Like
And
the
it's
Gregorian chants.
amazingly dramatic, which is pretty much Donald.
Yes. So that was great. And then
I do have to say, though, I did like the lightning effect when he is bringing the guy back from death by electrocution.
that was good. I like that.
He, like, claps his hand together and then pulls out, kind of like, you do the weird cat's cradle with the strings. It looked like that, but with lightning bolts,
Yeah.
and then turned him to shock. And I thought that effect, it still had the same lightning, but it looked cool. Like,
It did.
It was an interesting idea on how to use it, so.
Yes. And how they utilize the lightning effects going forward gets really creative, and that adds to the oomph that it has.
Yes.
Because
Like,
it's not always just Sith lightning.
yes, which does look cool, but there's cooler things you can do with lightning apparently.
Yes. Little teasing there. Motivation for you guys to watch episode 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 because they're really good. And then 8 when it comes out.
Okay.
So then Donald is wallowing in depression, drinking champagne against a brick wall in an alleyway.
Yes.
And then we hear the lady who's undergoing the purse snatching yell, "Help!" And I like how as soon as you hear her yell, "Help," the camera tilts.
Mm-hmm.
Just kind of highlighting the severity of the situation. It was cool. I liked it. Little decision, but it
Yes.
added a lot. I liked
Yes,
it quite
and
a bit.
it using the sound design and the camera movements coordinating like that really helps
Yes.
to feel more cinematic.
Yes. And then we have the fight scene.
Which was, I feel like they actually practiced the choreography for the fighting, which is not necessarily something you expect from a lower budget piece, but
Right.
I feel like the choreography was sound, but they they're not the Action Factory guys.
Well,
so,
Yeah, my thing with it was I feel like the choreography was down and sound, but the editing just needed to be a little tighter and fast paced.
yes.
Because there were some scenes where I almost feel like the editing left us too much time to absorb what was going on. Like a scene that comes to mind is where one of the guys with not the straight razor, but just the knife, he goes forward and stabs it, and then it sits there for a few seconds before Donald goes like that and catches it,
Yeah.
And it's all up to preference too. Like some fight scenes are like super fast, to the point where you can't tell what's going on, and then the whole time the camera's just like shaking all over the place,
Yeah.
so you can't see anything. It's just colored blurs, which I don't like either.
Yeah, you can definitely edit it together too fast, but part of the camera movement and fast editing makes the punches feel way more real than they are, and I do agree that was not necessarily implemented as well as it could have been.
Yeah, it wasn't bad. Like the whole time I
No.
wasn't like, oh god, this is terrible. I can't. And I was like,
Yes.
okay, I can watch this. And within the the atmosphere of the show, I could believe it. It's fine.
Yeah,
I would have preferred it to be a bit more brutal and fast paced.
True. They need to do a Zack Snyder reboot of this then. Just make it really gritty and dark and. Yeah.
I really want to see Zack Snyder direct PoPS and just make that a thing.
Oh.
Because when we talked with Jake Jarvie last, we asked him if you could have all professional Hollywood actors, who would you have play the roles? And we got so now we have the Hollywood cast. Now we just need the Hollywood Zack Snyder to come along and just do
it.
PoPS, the television show.
Okay.
I want to see this.
It would be interesting, that's for sure.
Have Jake Jarvie and Zack Snyder team up and both direct PoPS. It'd be great.
Okay.
There we go.
All right.
But yeah, so again, they weren't professional stuntmen, so we can't expect them to be like literally throwing people against walls, and so it was fine.
Yeah, and I doubt any of them had like any fighting experience really.
True. Like the whole time I was watching it, I was actually kind of surprised with Craig's performance. I'm like, wow.
Yeah, exactly.
For being a YouTuber, and if you watch his vlogs, like he's been putting forth a concerted effort over the past few years to get into shape, but that didn't start right away. So I think this is before he started like running every day and getting into shape quite a bit. So the whole time I'm watching this, I'm like, wow, I'm honestly kind of impressed with Craig's performance here.
Yeah,
like delivering the blows and like turning around.
It was definitely very well choreographed. It just wasn't done as fast as would be better, I guess.
Right. And then I probably should have brought this up in the thoughts on the character section, but I believe we see every single person that was in the alleyway again.
I think so.
I know we see at least 2 of them again.
Yeah.
But I think we see all of them show up eventually back in the series.
I believe it, because essentially they're just their friends that they got to act.
Yes, and 2 of them play very important roles.
Yes.
So, obviously we do see Donald again. He was also in the alleyway.
Okay. I felt like that one was a bit obvious.
Because I knew you were freaking out about that.
I was worried.
Just to put your soul at rest. We do see Donald in the next episode.
Okay, good.
So, there you go.
Just the next one?
I don't know. You just have to keep watching. I'll keep the suspense alive. You just have to keep watching and figure out if he's in each subsequent episode.
Okay.
So, there you go. But that's about it.
I think so. So it was a good episode for sure.
Yes.
You can feel the action starting to ramp up, and I can't wait for episode 3.
Yes, we're now poised in a position where crime fighting is now an option.
Yes.
It's no longer about dealing with personal struggles, though it is. That's still there. But now we have the option to then act out into crime fighting. So
yes.
It's like, ooh, we could go places now.
And I'm just excited to see superpowers being used.
Yes. And we also have some cliffhangers to resolve, such as Virginia's pissed offedness with Jonas. So that'll be interesting.
It cannot possibly end well.
No.
For Jonas, mostly.
No. So
I mean, I guess it could if he just mind controlled her to forget the whole thing. But still.
Yes. So that being said, that's going to wrap up our review of Platoon Power Squadron, Episode 2.
Yes.
And
good episode.
Be sure to join us when we do Platoon Power Squadron, Episode 3. We're not going to do it right away.
No.
But we'll get back to it.
We will.
So
it will eventually do the entire series, for sure.
Yes. So you can join us next week, next Monday. We're going to be reviewing another film by Nash Edgerton.
Yep, Devynn likes this guy.
We reviewed a film by Nash Edgerton last week, which was Lucky, the one with the car and the explosion.
I remember.
Yes. We also reviewed a film by Nash Edgerton quite a while ago called Spider.
Yes.
And we are now going to be reviewing a short film by Nash Edgerton.
Oh, thank you for not. Yeah.
Called Bear. It's about 8 minutes long if you don't count the credits, and it's up on Blue Tongue Films' YouTube channel. You could also find it on Vice's YouTube channel.
Okay.
For some reason, Vice uploaded it. But I would recommend you watch it on the actual creators page.
Yes.
We always encourage that. Like, if there's multiple copies of a video, we'd always recommend you go to the person who actually made the video to help support them as much. But Blue Tongue Films, Bear by Nash Edgerton. Go watch it. Come back next week, and we shall talk about it.
As we normally do.
That's what we do. And then let us know what you thought about it by sending us some feedback.
Yes, our email is feedback@practicelikeamedia.com. You can also leave us a voicemail on Google Voice that we can play on the podcast. The number there is 720-295-0885.
Yes, you could also leave us some feedback in the comment section of YouTube. So that is youtube.com/Proactive Slackers.
Yes, where this video podcast will be airing.
Yes. And Nick, why don't you go ahead and list out some more links while I pull up some actual feedback that we got in the YouTube comments.
Okay. You can visit our website, which is proactiveslackermedia.com, which probably won't work because Squarespace is, not the best. So go to proactiveslackermedia.squarespace.com if you want guaranteed access to all of our content on our site. You can also...
Real quick, it's a little unfortunate, too, because Squarespace sponsors so many great podcasts that I love, and I'm like, I want you to be good, Squarespace. We're never going to have the opportunity to sponsor you because you're not going to offer us a sponsorship because we're always bashing you, but I just want them to do a good job,
Yeah, I just wish we could have our domain name and just our domain name to get there.
Yeah.
We also have a company Twitter. It's at PSM_company. It's for the live podcast. When we do have viewers, we are checking it to see if you guys are talking to us live on the podcast, which you can always do. We air Thursday and Sunday nights.
All one of you that join us for the live stream.
Exactly.
Usually your dad.
Yeah, he does quite frequently because, he supports me, I guess. What are the links? There's personal Twitters.
There's Facebook.
There's Facebook. That's the link. Facebook.com/Proactive Slacker Media is our Facebook page.
Yes. We also have our own personal Twitters.
Yes.
Mine is twitter.com/Devynn_H. That's DEVYNN_H.
And I'm at ProSoccerNick.
Did you just mock me? You just mocked me. If you're watching the video podcast, Nick just mocked me. That's great. And then speaking of feedback, I pulled up some feedback we got for our last Platoon Power Squadron review.
Yes.
That was left in the YouTube comments by none other than Jake Jarvie himself.
It's true.
And he says, I've worked in 4 different video stores. Best job ever. Practically extinct occupation. Sometimes the customers had a day where they've been put through the ringer and they just need to take that frustration out on someone who's not allowed to walk away from that.
Yep.
Retail is 70% getting paid to do your job, 30% getting paid to stand there and take whatever gets dished out. I love hearing you guys talk about problem customers. See, Nick, this is why I'll never want to work in a pizza place. I love pizza. Because you mentioned you hate pizza now because you work at a pizza place.
Okay, I don't hate pizza. I just eat it far too often to be excited by the prospect of pizza anymore.
Okay, gotcha. He also says, quote, he's the jock of those nerds. It's one of the greatest things I've ever heard.
So,
which I came up with, Nick.
Yes.
So I'm Jake's favorite.
All right.
You are not. He disdains you for your hate of pizza, and he loves me from my clever quotes. So there we go.
All right. The clever one.
Another proof of this is he liked another one of my quotes. He says, I like telekinesized. Again, Devin 2, Nick -1.
Oh, yeah. All right.
And then he also goes on to say, my God, I want a PoPS 8-bit video game too. You have to throw tacos into 25 mouths as people pass by as the taco bear. You have to memorize keyboard combinations to knit a hat. Which I believe you came up with the idea for the 8-bit video game. The 8-bit PoPS video game?
Yeah. So that was born of a weird tangent we went into.
Yes, and so now, adjusting the score, that makes it 0 to 2.
Okay.
You went up from
-1. Myself 1 point for the awesome beard. And I'm going to take a point away for your pompadour.
This is not a pompadour haircut.
Okay.
It's a very short, spiked up in the front haircut.
Okay.
You can take a point away from me for now having a beard.
Okay.
So then we're, 1-1?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're tied.
All right.
But we'll let Jake give official designation
all right.
on those. Are we not going to keep a score count of, who's Jake's favorite?
I believe you are.
I will.
All right. And
I
I'm
like
competitive to let it stand.
I like to believe I'm winning. And on that very odd note, I think we'll wrap up the podcast.
Yes.
So, thank you guys for watching. Join us next Monday. Bear. Nash Edgerton.
Yep.
Blue Tongue Films. Go watch it, and let's talk about it.
Okay. And then join us on Thursday night or Friday. We will be doing the Proactive Slacker podcast.
Yes, we didn't do one last week because I was sick.
Devin,
I'm feeling much better
now
now.
and stuff. Yeah. We have feedback for that, and I'm excited.
Yes. So, talk show, Thursday, Friday, back here, Sunday, Monday. It's going to be awesome.
Yes.
Adios.
Bye.